What's up everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of my State of Xbox Game Studios series. This time, we're looking at who many consider as Bethesda's best developer, Arkane Studios, who have a long and storied history with Xbox. Let's dive in and see what they bring to the table post Microsoft acquisition.
You can't break the blood trends. It's only just begun.
Officially established in 1999, this Lyon-based developer was founded by Raphael Colantonio, who was working at EA France but left once they begun prioritizing sports games over original titles shortly after the release of the PS1. With financial help that allowed him to bring in 10 others, Colantonio's goal was to create a second sequel to EA's Ultimate Underworld. He had support from the original developers, but EA would not allow Arkane to develop a sequel unless he accepted their terms. Colantonio refused and instead had Arkane make their own IP in the spirit of Ultimate Underworld, Arx Fatalis. This first-person action RPG was released on PC in 2002, Xbox in 2003, and most notably didn't come to the PS2. I hadn't heard of Arx before doing research for this video, so it's no surprise to me that the game wasn't commercially successful despite the positive reviews. Due to the poor sales, Arkane had difficulty finding a publisher for a sequel. Fortunately, they were approached by Ubisoft to apply their engine to a new game, which became Dark Messiah of Might and Magic and was released on PC in October 2006. The game then came to Xbox 360 in 2008 with an expanded single-player campaign and revamped multiplayer, though this still didn't result in a good Metacritic. And once again, the game didn't come to PlayStation. During development of the PC release, Colantonio moved from Lyon to Texas to set up Arkane Austin in June 2006. Over the next few years, most game development was done out of Lyon where production costs were cheaper, while the Austin studio established relationship with others to generate work for higher projects. This proved to be the right strategy, as Arkane had a string of cancelled games such as LMNO, a game developed in partnership with Steven Spielberg, which EA was set to publish. Entering 2010 with no game of their own and contract work running out, Colantonio was preparing to let go of staff to conserve costs. It was then when they were approached by Bethesda, who had an idea for a stealth-based game set in feudal Japan, which they wanted to call Dishonored. According to Colantonio, Bethesda loved their work on Arx Fatalis and wanted to collaborate on a first-person immersive game. However, they did not react fast enough before Arkane had to move to Dark Messiah. Considering the similarities between Arx and the Elder Scrolls games, Colantonio recognized Bethesda was the best fit for Arkane, and so accepted acquisition by ZeniMax Media in August 2010. With financial backing and a parent company that appreciated their game design, Arkane had the time and creative freedom to revamp Bethesda's original concept for Dishonored. For example, changing the Japanese setting to one inspired by London. Dishonored was publicly announced for PC, PS3 and Xbox 360 in July 2011 and was released in October 2012. It follows the story of Corvo Attana, a bodyguard to the Empress of the Isles. He's framed for her murder and so seeks revenge on those who conspired against him. He's aided in this quest by the Outsider, who grants him magical abilities. During its 2.5 years in production, test players discovered methods of exploiting these magical abilities to achieve unexpected outcomes. Instead of restricting these techniques, Arkane redesigned levels to accommodate them. This design decision paid off as Dishonored achieved a 91 on Metacritic and won Best Action Adventure Game at the 2012 Video Game Awards. The game also sold very well. It's therefore not surprising that the game got a remaster for PS4 and Xbox One in 2015, as well as the green light for a sequel. Dishonored II was announced at E3 2015 and released in 2016 for PC, PS4 and Xbox One. However, unlike the first game, which was developed by both teams, Dishonored II was primarily developed in Lyon, as Arkane Austin was focused on 2017's Prey, which we'll discuss in a bit. According to Colantonio, Dishonored was not developed with a sequel in mind, but ideas for one began to emerge during development of its DLC, which spawned decisions like giving a voice to Corvo after being a silent character in Dishonored 1. Additionally, this time, the player chose between playing as either Corvo or his daughter, Empress Coldwyn, as they attempt to reclaim the throne. Once again, Dishonored 2 had a very positive reception due to the improvements made, like the challenging stealth and the creative design of individual missions, though the narrative remained a consistent criticism. There was even a standalone game released a year later called Death of the Outsider that concluded the narrative arc, though once again, the story was criticized. Nonetheless, it's clear that gamers came to the franchise for the gameplay, not the story, and with Dishonored 2 again winning the award for the Best Action-Adventure Game at the 2016 Game Awards, it put pressure on Arkane Austin to match this quality with 2017's Prey.
If I can't save us, I'm taking every last one of them with me.
I go in depth about the history of Prey in a previous video, and I recommend you watch it as it's one of the craziest stories ever seen in the industry. I'll leave the link in the video description down below, but here are the cliff notes. Prey 2017 is unrelated to Human Studios' Prey that released in 2006 and is considered a reimagining of the IP. While Prey 2, a sequel to the 2006 game, was deep into development at Human Head, it fell into development hell following some shady tactics Bethesda employed to try and force Human Head into acquisition and was eventually cancelled in 2014. Arkane does not use any of that planned sequel's assets or story, it just took over the name. Colantonio said in later interviews that calling their game Prey was a non-negotiable compromise with Bethesda, a decision that no one on the team was pleased with. He continued, saying it felt bad to lie during promotion when he had to say they were continuing the Prey series, as it was an insult to the developers of the original Prey. Prey still achieved a respectable 82 on Metacritic, however, opening sales were down 60% compared to Dishonored 2, which Colantonio attributed to the drama surrounding the game. It was so bad that 2 months following Prey's release, Colantonio announced he was stepping down as president of Arkane. He said in a statement, "It's time for me to be with my son and reflect on what is important to me and my future." Harvey Smith and Romuald Capron then took over Arkane Austin and Lyon respectively and assisted other Bethesda games like Fallout 76 whilst finishing off support for Dishonored 2 and Prey. It wouldn't be until E3 2019 that their next game would be announced, Deathloop, which is described by game director Dinga Bakaba as a reverse Cluedo murder puzzle game that utilized bright colors to differentiate this new series from previous Arkane works. Deathloop was shown again at Sony's 2020 showcase, where it was announced that it would be a timed exclusive for the console for a year. Something incredibly ironic considering Microsoft announced its intent to buy Bethesda a few months later, though Phil Spencer said that this deal would not affect Deathloop's PS5 exclusive release. After multiple delays and far too many trailers, the game was eventually released in September 2021 to critical acclaim. So much so that Bakaba was elevated to studio head for Arkane Lyon shortly after. So now that we're caught up on Arkane's decades-old history with Xbox, what can we expect from them post-acquisition? In my opinion, they have the potential to be in the top 3 developers Microsoft acquired since their purchase spree started in 2018, but there's very little that Arkane can do over the next few months. Deathloop did come to series consoles alongside the substantial Golden Loop update, which includes new weapons, abilities, and enemies, as well as an extended ending, which has only propelled its critical success further. But this update also came to the PS5. Deathloop also hit Game Pass at the same time as PlayStation Extra, so it can't help Xbox differentiate itself as an exclusive selling factor despite its quality. However, we also know of Arkane's next game called Redfall, which is an open-world FPS developed by the Austin studio. The game's premise sounds perfect for its hybrid single-player/multiplayer focus. After a failed experiment, a legion of vampires invaded and isolated Redfall from the outside world. Trapped inside, players must choose among 4 unique survivors and slay their enemies, vampires, and humans alike. As someone who loved Prey 2017 so much that it's his favourite third-party game of the last generation, this may well be my most anticipated 2023 game. And perhaps most importantly for the Xbox brand, this will be the first game that is published by Bethesda post-acquisition/exclusivity contracts, and is therefore confirmed to be an Xbox/PC exclusive. So despite the changes in Arkane leadership, if Redfall can match the very high quality of previous Arkane works, it will propel the studio into an enviable status not possible before, as Xbox fans will be able to rightfully champion a masterpiece AAA exclusive that compares well with PlayStation's best. They just need to put in the work for a few more months, and Arkane will be joining other Xbox studios like Playground Games in the S tier, and be one of the best decisions Microsoft makes to compete against Sony this generation. Just please give me a Prey 2 after Redfall. That alone will have me looking at Xbox like I did at their peak, back in 2005 to 2008.